you.
For many New Yorkers, summer is a very busy time in real estate. To help us understand this tricky market, Stephen James joins us now. He is the president and CEO of Douglass Elliman NYC. And you always have all the tips we need to know, Stephen. We so appreciate it. In this market, things can change from day to day. So what would you say are the trends going on now here in New York City?
Well, it's very encouraging. It's very encouraging. This was a really, really good quarter. For the first time in 18 months,
wow,
we had more sales.
What would you attribute that to?
I think there were several things. One is interest rates are lower than they were a year ago. And that, you know, when interest rates are low, buyers feel more comfortable because it doesn't cost them as much. There's more inventory, which isn't necessarily a plus for the sellers in the sense of prices going up. When you have a small pool of buyers and a big inventory, prices are probably going to be contained, as opposed to a big pool of buyers and a much tinier inventory, which is what we've had for the last 10 years. So this is a real change.
You mentioned inventory. I have heard and read some reports about Upper Manhattan being a place where a lot of people are migrating to. What's the trend going on in that area?
It's still the trend. And one of the reasons why that's the case is because the consumer in Manhattan was pushed out. They were pushed further north, up into Riverdale, the Bronx, lower Westchester, and also out to Brooklyn and Queens and out on the island. But for the most part, there was real value in Riverdale, but not a huge inventory. So the pickings were pretty slim. So it's been very good for Riverdale.
And July 1st was a poignant day, right, in the real estate market.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the changes to the mansions tax and how that's affecting buyers in the market as a whole.
Well, it really, really pushed through certainly the second quarter. A lot of contracts were signed in the beginning of the first quarter, the first section of quarter two. So people went to contract in hopes of beating the July 1st deadline, because it was going to cost the buyer more money with the mansion tax. It went from 1% of the entire sales price at a price above $1 million to all the way up to 4.9% on a $25 million sale. So it's a huge savings if you can beat the July 1st deadline, and many people did.
Wednesday close at the 19th hour, right in there.
Absolutely, and they did. We couldn't even handle the paperwork.
I'm sure.
This happened in 1985 when they first enacted the original mansion tax of 1%. Same thing occurred. Rush, let's beat it, save money. At the same time, the seller was saving money too, because the transfer taxes went up as of July 1st. So buyer and seller got hit. So here was a window of opportunity, and they took advantage of it.
I would assume so. What other markets would you say are hot right now that people should be taking advantage of?
Well, I think in Manhattan, strangely enough, I think the Upper East Side is still really good value. You can get some really good deals, especially east of 3rd Avenue. But I'm going to throw something out that's kind of shocking. There is actually really good value on Park Avenue.
Get out of here.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes, those prices have come down a bit. There's more negotiability.
Wow.
And not everyone wants Park Avenue. You would think that they would. They haven't for the last year or so.
Because why? It's busier or what?
It's been very expensive. No, it's not quite so expensive. If a buyer is willing to go through that co-op process, which can be very stringent, if they're willing to go through that and are capable of doing that, they can get good value now on Park Avenue.
What would you say about some of the boroughs?
Brooklyn, for sure. Still, maybe a little further out in Brooklyn, certainly not Park Slope and Brooklyn Heights, because that's, Gold Coast. But also Queens. There's still really good value in Queens. And I think as we move forward, we're going to see more and more value there.
All right. Thank you so much for being here and giving us all of the insight. Now, if only you could just buy the house for me and gift it on over this way. I'll be in it.
I would love to.
Stephen, thank you. I'll hold you to it. That was right here. Thanks for being here.